Finance Committee with the Board of Trustees, Wednesday, April 18th, 2018, 7 o'clock is called to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Williams? Trustee Wilson? Here. Trustee Brooks?
Present.
Trustee McMullen? Trustee Payton?
Here.
Trustee Dr. Brown? Mayor Coven?
Present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry, Finance Committee roll call.
Okay, Sandra Hurd, here, Pretty Martin.
Board member. Andre Covington.
Thank you.
Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay.
General public comments if you not.
Are there any general public comments this time? Hearing none, we'll move on with the agenda. New business.
Okay, before, I just want to say, I usually make the announcements for the protocol. Since for the, interest of time, we definitely will be yielding the time to the presenter and village manager. And then the board and the committee, as we have questions, but we want to give, consideration for the time. So we make our questions and comments short. And I don't know if you're going to leave it open later for any questions from the public.
Yes. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to try to get through this agenda quite quickly. The first hour of the agenda is going to be two presentations from two municipal financial advisory firms. We're going to try to limit the questions to board members and the Finance Committee. This is the time to ask all questions in regards to these presentations. At the end of these presentations and over the next week, I'm going to be looking for input from the Finance Committee as well as the Board of Trustees in regards to these two presentations to assist me in making a final determination of who's going to come in as the municipal financial advisor for the village. I've already talked to Chairwoman Hurd. She will obtain comments from the Finance Committee members and provide those comments to me in one general email or telephone conversation, and I will be having individual telephone conversations with the members of the board as well as Madam Mayor at a time to be prescribed in the future. We're going to start with our municipal financial advisor presentations. We're going to start with our first firm, Ellers. Sorry, my apologies. If you can come up. Spear's going to take a step out while they do their presentation, and once they're done, Spear will come in and do their presentation and go forward.
Wait. We've already discussed their arrangements, Mayor. In Okay, advance. thank you. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are really honored to be here, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Trustees. We are from Ellers and Associates. My name is Adrienne Booker. My colleague Tricia Marino Ruffalo is with me. We want to get into our presentation. I have a flip book, if you have it. I think it was emailed to you earlier as well. And we will go through that to introduce our services with Ellers and Associates. The first page is just the overview of what I'm going to go over. And Ellers and Associates, we were established in 1955. We are an independent municipal advisory firm. And when we say independent municipal advisory firm, it speaks to our fiduciary responsibility to provide financial services to our clients, to the village, to cities, to school districts, to all of our clients in their best interest. Excuse me, not in our best interest, not in the interest of any intermediary. So we are independent. We are an employee-owned firm as well. That means that we have buy-in as municipal advisors and staff. We are invested, and we have an interest in making sure that we uphold the reputation and do our best for the clients. We have experienced advisors that work in 4 basic areas. We work in debt issuance, financial planning, economic development and redevelopment, as well as post-issuance services. We're also registered with the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board as well. On slide 4, you'll see that Ellers is listed as a leading municipal advisor. We are ranked in terms of number of issues, number 3, not the size so much as number 3. So our clientele is typically smaller to mid-size entities. Our offices are located in 4 principal areas. Our main office is in Roseville, Minnesota. We have an office in Chicago, Illinois. That's where I am from, as well as my colleague Tricia is from. We are in Waukesha, Wisconsin, as well as Denver, Colorado. Within the Chicago office, there are about 9 other employees. We have 5 municipal advisors, 2 economic development advisors, excuse me, as well as 1 TIP coordinator and a financial specialist. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is that we have a deep bench. Even though there are just 9 of us in the Chicago office, we are a phone call away, an email away from all of our other colleagues, and we work pretty closely together on a day-to-day basis. If you turn to slide 5, I'd like to have my colleague Tricia come up just for a second to introduce herself. Tricia is our Economic Development Advisor.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Sett, is Tricia Marino Ruffalo. I'm working with the Economic Development team here in at Ellers. I've been with them for a few years now. Most recently, working on a project with the village. We are engaged to work on some TIF work with the village. I've been with Ellers a short time, just over 3 years. Most recently, prior to joining Ellers, I worked for the City of Chicago in the TIF unit for a few years. And then prior to that, I've had a long-standing career in TIF advising, creating, and designating that's lasted longer than a TIF life, which I can say proudly. Never thought it would last a lifetime. What Adrienne did.
All right, thank you. And I wanted Tricia to come up just to show you again that she has a lot of experience, well over 20 years of experience in economic development, TIF designations, and the like. I come from the municipal bond side of things, the financial side of things, where I've been with Ellers for about 3 years, but I've been in municipal finance for over 20 years. I previously before joining Ellers, I was previously with Fitch Ratings, a bond rating agency. I worked there for 13 and a half years, working not only on municipal, I was senior director there, working on municipal debt issues, state revolving funds, water and sewer system issues. Prior to that, I worked with the City of Chicago as an assistant comptroller, so I bring to the table some of that experience of what you guys are experiencing in local government. I worked also with MBIA Insurance Corporation, which is a bond insurer, as well as Moody's Investor Service for a number of years in New York. So my experience spans from some years ago in municipal finance. And again, with us on the team, if we are to be hired, it will not only be Tricia and myself, but Jessica Cook, who is a financial specialist. She is also one of our board members for the company. Jessica is she heads up a team that looks out over all of the financial management plans. Jessica has over 20 years of experience in municipal finance experience as well. Jean Vogt as well, she's a senior financial specialist. Jean would be one who is very engaged with the village. And again, Even though Jean and Jessica are in Minnesota, we work with them directly and seamlessly as we have. And Jean is a former finance director for a village in Minnesota, and she's had over 20 years of experience as well. And if there's one person that just gets to the heart of what are some of the issues and challenges that communities can have, Jean is one who does that, and she brings solutions with her as well. Where do we excel as an organization at Ellers? One of the key things, and I mentioned it before, we have a team approach. We have a team approach where we really come to the table, not just one person, where if that one person goes, you're wondering, well, who's going to help our account? Who's going to work with us? We work as a team, and there's always more than one or two people that know exactly what's going on with each and all of our clients. The other thing is that we listen to the client. We don't make any presumptions about what you want to do and therefore offer you a solution that you've not even asked for. We want to know, what are your thoughts? What are your challenges? What are you looking for? What are your questions? What are you looking for us to do for you? And therefore, we will take it and do the fact-finding and bring back options and solutions. We have an expertise in financial planning, as I mentioned. We have a unit that, like I said, that Jessica oversees that does nothing but work on financial management plans all day long. As a municipal advisor, I work on my, financial management plans, but I also work on debt issuances and other types of issues, pricing consultant, other types of issues that we do at Ellers. We provide debt solutions, and the debt solutions that we provide reflect our fiduciary responsibility. We do propose issuing debt or restructuring debt when it makes sense. However, we won't put a proposal before you that is not to your benefit. That's just the bottom line. It's not to your benefit. We will not put anything before you that's not to your benefit. We understand what your financial profile is. Before we come to the table, and if we are to be hired, we will know the ins and outs of what some of your challenges are. We would definitely have to get more information from you, but we will understand and come to the table with your profile very well understood. And we have experience in, when it comes to financing, competitive, negotiated, private placement methods of sale. We work with all kinds of intermediaries, including underwriters, bond lawyers, feasibility study professionals. We work with all of those. If you turn to page 8 or slide 8, where we excel as well is in the area of rating expertise. Ellers has been an expert in the area of ratings well before I got here, but they are an expert, and they have been an expert. We know what rating agencies are looking for. We understand how they think. We understand how ratings work. What we do is help to facilitate the process. So say if the village is looking to gain back the rating, the investment grade rating that they've had, we understand how that's done. We have a plan and can propose a plan that would make that happen in terms of everything from what the rating agencies are looking for in terms of policies and procedures, in terms of the plan that they're looking for, in terms of getting our clients ready for presentations. If you were to get ready for a presentation before one of the rating agencies, we would not put it upon you to put together the presentation booklet. We put together the presentation booklet with your staff. Then after it's reviewed back and forth, we do all of the legwork so that you are best prepared. And we also work with the meetings and the site visits. On slide 9, I think the crux of what we are here to do, given that we understand the financial situation and the issues that the village is dealing with right now, the question is, how can we at Ellers help the village? And the way in which we believe that we can help the village best is with a financial management plan. And there are other things that are There are other things that we see that can be included, and I'll talk about that in a bit in terms of restructuring your debt. But one of the key things is with the financial management plan. And a financial management plan is a comprehensive fiscal plan that will review all of your governmental revenues, all of your expenditures, all of your funds, so that you can determine your options, you can set your policies that will guide your short-term and your long-term spending. And we would also review your financial policies so that we can assure that you have sustainable policies that are in place. The reason that I say that, if you turn over to the next page, I have a debt profile. This may look very familiar to all of you, of the village of University Park. It shows that you have current outstanding debt of about $4.4 million. You have the next 3 years, over the next 3 years, a little over, excuse me, a little over $1 million in debt service that is due. Now, while we can, as municipal advisors, can come up here and say, you know what, we can offer you a plan where we can help you to restructure the debt to make things a bit more viable for you to proceed forward to make the financial decisions. But instead of saying that, what we're offering is a financial management plan that incorporates a debt plan that would include like short-term financing, tax anticipation notes, or other types of corporate notes that you could issue that would help ease the financial situation. My point is that we think that restructuring the debt is only one part of the solution, a small part of the solution. But having a comprehensive financial plan is and will be very sustainable for the village. As I mentioned, it's a multi-year fiscal plan, and that means we typically do a plan from 10 years. What we do is take an audited financials. We actually take the last 3 audited financials as sort of the starting point, and after those audited financials, that current year's budget as sort of the launching point for all of those funds that we would look at. This plan would integrate your existing debt, your capital improvement plan, your future debt, as well as your tax-based growth and your operating expenses. So it leaves nothing off the table. I mean, everything is on the table, so you're not making decisions in the context of how much debt do I have to pay, you know, on this next debt payment. It takes into account of, well, what about pension payments that I have to make, pension obligations that I have to make? What about increases, other salary increases that I have to make? The debt financial management plan takes that into consideration, and it helps you to have a very long-term or long-sighted view of what decisions you're going to make in light of what priorities you bring. On page 12, I kind of mentioned this. I won't repeat myself to a great extent, but the plans are very practical because it helps you to manage your expectations. You're getting new spending proposals, and then there are other identified priorities. By having a plan, you can look at, and things come up that will sometimes have you to change your plan, but if you have a plan before you, when you get a new spending proposal, it makes those, it'll make those decisions a lot simpler because you'll know, well, where are we going and where we're headed with the plan. It will reduce stress during the budget process. You may have already, thought about, well, what are our guidelines or the previously agreed upon spending guidelines. When you have a plan, those don't really change much. Some of the other urgent things may come up, but the guidelines will be there. Rating agencies like multi-year planning. One of the goals of the village is to attain, especially in accessing the capital market and getting the lowest interest rates possible, is being able to have a viable rating or to have an investment grade rating. One of the things in my 13 and a half years with Fitch and my 5.5 years at Moody's, they like planning. They like planning. And they don't only like planning, they like the kind of planning that says, this is the plan that we made in the last 6 months, and guess what? We're still following it. or this is how it's changing. Because what it does for them, it kind of tracks for them that there are no surprises that they can report to the investors in terms of how you're going. There may be some hiccups, there may be some slowdowns. We can't control how the EAV grows or declines in certain market times. But when you have a plan, it's easy to always measure yourself against that plan. And it reduces being reactive when unpredictable economies come your way. When you look at our experience with financial management plans in Illinois, we have some to note. We've recently done plans for the city of DeKalb. They were looking for a plan for the Public Works Department. They needed to finance street improvements. And because the streets hadn't been repaired and they really didn't have the revenue to do it, we went in with a plan that helped to identify what the facts were in terms of what their resources were, provided for them what their options would be in terms of, are there any other taxes? Just really, you're scraping the bottom just to find out, okay, what else is available that you can do, and also bringing to them other ideas that would help them with a viable plan to finance those streets. As well as the city of Elwood, we provided a plan for them, for Crystal Lake as well. We've done plans for libraries. We do a lot of library districts. Illinois has a significant number of library districts in the state, and we've done plans for Palatine District, the Downers Grove District, and the District for Carroll Stream. In terms of our experience, though, that's similar to what the Village of University Park is going through, we pointed to a couple of examples. While they're not in Illinois, we wanted to get something that's pretty close to what you're dealing with, and they're in Minnesota. And even though they're in Minnesota, just in terms of Minnesota's heavily dependent upon property taxes, very similar to what we're dealing with in Illinois. There are no levy limits, and because you guys are home rule, there are no limits. I mean, we know that there are limits in terms of what the burden of that the community can bear, but in terms of being home rule, you don't have the limits that other capped communities have. They use sales taxes sparingly because it requires special legislation and voter approval. So while it's not an apples to apples comparison, it's very close in terms of why we picked a couple of these examples. The first one is the city of La Center, Minnesota. And we were introduced to the city of La Center, Minnesota around 2012 when they had gotten a downgrade. They were rated investment grade. They had gotten a below investment grade downgrade. Then they called on us initially to help them to regain that rating. With that, they had experienced, though, in 2008, a housing crash, a decrease in market value. They wanted to maintain a stable tax rate. However, they had large decreases in property tax revenues. All of the things that I've said, you can relate to that in the Village of University Park. And it's not just University Park, it's all over the state. By 2012, La Center, they were getting warrants from local banks to make their payroll, but they didn't have any financial planning. And the local warrants that they were getting from the bank were not really authorized, so to speak. So we were hired not only to help them in terms of gaining their rating back, but also to help them to get the long-range financial planning for all of their city funds. If you turn to slide 16, you'll see in terms of the background of what their rating was in 2010. They started at an A1. They got downgraded. We got hired sometime in 2012, or in 2012 or 2013. We completed our financial management plan. We did a debt study for them as well, a utility rate study. But by 2014, they had received an upgrade to a single A. During that time as well that we've been working with them, they had also issued about 7 bond issuances that required tax levies. My point is that the comprehensive plan wasn't just saying, hey, here's a plan, let's just go follow it. The plan incorporated the bond issues that they needed to put in place as well as the other policies that they needed to put before the rating agencies to get the kind of borrowing costs that they needed to do the financing. The result is that by 2017, they've gotten upgraded to an A+. Now, on page 17, a couple of things happened that I think is probably significant for most entities that take on these financial management plans. You're deciding, and I really do commend you all as a village, because you've made the decision to say, you know what, we're coming out of this, and you're showing the state of Illinois that you're coming out of this and you're taking those steps to come out of it, and we believe that you're going in the right direction. But one of the things that La Center experienced, they experienced some heartburn in terms of the property taxes that were borne upon their citizens, because they had to raise those taxes in order to kind of help dig them out of the situation that they were in. In addition to that, they had issued some tax anticipation notes for about 3 years until they had sufficient cash that was built up to sustain their cash flows on a year-round basis. So that's one example. Another example, or the last example that I will show, is the city of Waverly, Minnesota. Waverly, Minnesota was in a situation where they're a small entity. They have a population of about 1,400. We understand that the population of La Center, which has a population of over 2,000 or so, versus you guys have a population of over 7,000. It's not the same in that regard, but the fundamental issues are similar. With the city of Waverly, they had issues in managing their fund balance, as well as they didn't really have enough staff to do the kind of financial planning that was needed in order to keep them with their revenues exceeding their expenditures. They had a general fund balance that was already negative, but what Ellers came in to do was to help them complete a financial management plan that looked at all of their funds, and it really helped them to get above board. Now, one of the things that they showed, and actually both La Center and Waverly showed, is that they had the political will to do it. We've done this presentation for other communities, and we do it for many other communities. And typically, I don't necessarily get the smiles and the head nods that I'm seeing in front of me, because this is not popular. And it's not popular to the extent that when it takes the political will to do it, sometimes it takes making the hard decisions that are not necessarily popular. However, we put it forth because we know at the end of the day that it's going to make a difference with our clients. With Waverly, they just had a very significant financial issue. You'd see the median home value were $217,000. That's a pretty wealthy place. But just because they had that in home values and they had that level of wealth, it doesn't mean that financially that they were able to sustain themselves. So it has nothing to do as much as we think with we don't have the financial capability because of our wealth levels in our areas. And again, Ellers we work primarily with small and medium-sized communities. The result for Waverly is that we, after we worked with them, they received a rating of a AA-. They made some really tough choices in increasing their corporate levy, an average of 40% a year over 6 years. Now, mind you, their size of their population was smaller. Their tax base was a little larger and their wealth levels were larger. But again, the debt levy and the special levies remained steady. They issued tax anticipation certificates for about 4 years until, again, they had sufficient cash flows. So we are comprehensive. We're not just looking at one piece of it. We're comprehensive in terms of what we're offering to the village. How will a financial management plan, how do we believe that it will help the village? We believe that it will help you achieve the financial stability by identifying the funding sources that you need to pay your existing debt service, which you're already paying, and to repay tax increment, to build your general fund balance. And sometimes when you look at the negative general fund balance numbers, it can look daunting. But again, by seeing that eliminated through the fact that you're following a pretty structured plan that you have say on and that you're involved with, it is pretty commendable. Also, it provides you to help you find out where your refunding opportunities are as well. In terms of a timeline for a financial management plan, what we assess, and again, this is from speaking with Mr. Pate, that the audits through fiscal year 2017 would be completed sometime in September of this year, of 2018. And what we could do if we were hired would be to complete a financial management plan 3 months after the audits. The reason that we couldn't do it before then is because we need audited financial statements as the basis for our analysis. We have to start with the audited financial statements. We understand that you have debt payments that are due December 1st, 2018, and even still, we could assist with cash flow issues in early 2019. For the 2018 payments, and I'm making an assumption here in terms of the tax levies, the taxes that have been levied for the December 1, 2018 payment, that should have been collected by, I would say, August or September, and available for the December 1 payment. I say that because any restructuring that you would do before the end of the year, before the December 1 payment, is not really going to help the December 1 payment, because those levies have already been taken care of. It will affect that 2019 year. We do think that there can be some relief that is given through restructuring that debt, though. Whether even if it's like a short-term tax anticipation note or some kind of just full restructuring that just kind of spreads out the debt and make it more manageable for the village. The fee for what I've just discussed in terms of what we